So, when you think about huge export markets, your mind probably jumps to places like Europe or North America, right? But what if I told you that one of the biggest, and I mean fastest growing opportunities is a place you might be totally overlooking? Today, we are diving deep into Bangladesh. And let me tell you, it's a colossal opportunity for anyone who knows how to crack the code.
And when I say colossal, I mean it. Check this out. $62.91 billion. That is how much Bangladesh imported just in the last fiscal year. This isn't some old stat from a textbook. This is happening right now on the ground. It just screams opportunity, doesn't it?
So that's the $62 billion question, isn't it? It's one thing to see a number that big, but it's another thing entirely to figure out how you can get a piece of that pie. Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down. Think of this as your personal playbook for winning in Bangladesh.
All right, so to understand how to sell to this market, you first got to understand why it's buying so much stuff in the first place. That $62 billion figure isn't just random. It's the fuel for one of the fastest-growing industrial engines in the entire region.
So what's really feeding this beast? Well, it's a perfect storm, really. You've got a massive population with a middle class that's just exploding, so consumer demand is way up. But the real hunger, the big driver, comes from its industries. We're talking about a gigantic textile sector and non-stop construction projects that are completely dependent on imported raw materials to even function.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting, because this table shows you exactly where the money's going. Just look at the top categories. Raw cotton, cotton yarn, synthetic fabrics, knitted fabrics. That is the absolute lifeblood of the world-famous garment industry. Then you've got petroleum, coal, and energy literally fueling the country's growth, and all that iron and steel for the building boom. The opportunities aren't vague, they are specific, and they are huge.
Okay, but if it were that easy, everyone would already be cashing in, right? The reality is, for every success story, there are tons of businesses that try and fail. So let's pull back the curtain and look at the hidden hurdles. Because honestly, knowing what the traps are is the first step to not falling into them.
These right here are the classic deal killers. It can start with something that sounds so small, like getting an HS code wrong, which then triggers a massive, unexpected tax bill. Or maybe you get deep into a deal only to find out your buyer doesn't even have a valid import license. But the biggest trap, the one that gets so many people, is the paperwork. Tiny, little errors that don't perfectly match the ridiculously complex letter of credit can bring your entire shipment to a screeching halt.
And that is the absolute bottom line here. Small mistakes have gigantic consequences. We're not talking about a little inconvenience. A single typo, one missing document, and your container can be trapped in customs for weeks, just sitting there, piling up fees, turning what should have been a great deal into a complete logistical nightmare.
All right, enough with the scary stuff. That's the problem. Now let's talk about the solution. The good news is all those hurdles are predictable, and if they're predictable, they can be managed. We've basically boiled it all down into a clear 10-step playbook to turn those challenges into a straightforward process.
The first half of this playbook, the first 5 steps, it's all about one thing: preparation. Seriously, if you get these 5 steps right, you will dodge almost all of the problems we just talked about. This is your homework. It's about validating your buyer, getting your product classified correctly so there are no tax surprises, and making darn sure your partner is even licensed to import. It's about getting all your ducks in a row before a single box leaves your warehouse.
And that brings us to the absolute heart of almost every major deal in Bangladesh, the letter of credit, or LC. I want you to think of it as more than just a payment guarantee. It's the official rulebook for the entire transaction. Every single document you create has to match what's in that LC perfectly. Any little discrepancy gives the bank a reason to delay your payment, or even worse, refuse it altogether. Okay, so once your prep work is solid, the second half of the playbook is all about sticking the landing. It's all about flawless execution. And you'll notice it flows right from the prep work. You manage the LC because your documents are already perfect. You have all the compliance docs ready to go. You give your buyer a heads up before the ship even arrives. This is how you sail through customs. And most importantly, this is how you lay the groundwork for that second, third, and 20th order.
Now, that 10-step playbook, that's your map to the treasure. But here's the thing. Even with the best map in the world, you probably wouldn't try to climb Mount Everest alone, right? And that's where the final, absolutely critical piece of the puzzle comes in. You can't do this alone. Trying to navigate this from thousands of miles away is just a recipe for disaster.
I mean, that's the obvious question, isn't it? It's probably what you're thinking right now. How on earth are you supposed to verify a buyer's license from another continent?
How do you know for sure that your documents are going to meet the specific, picky requirements of a bank in Dhaka? That is the exact gap a local partner is designed to fill. And this is what a local export consultant does. They are, quite literally, your team on the ground. They're not just finding you names of potential buyers, they are vetting them. They're not just helping you negotiate, they're making sure every single document is perfect before it's submitted. They basically coordinate the whole process, turning that complex playbook into a smooth, seamless reality for your business.
And look, don't just take my word for it. The results really do speak for themselves. Here's what a CEO from Canada had to say after dealing with these exact challenges. He points to the hands-on support and the deep market understanding of his local partner as the key to his success. That's the difference maker. That's the real value of having an expert in your corner.
So let's bring this all home. Yeah, the market in Bangladesh has its share of hurdles, for sure. But as we've just seen, there is a clear, repeatable path to success. And the real prize for getting it right isn't just one successful shipment. It's about building a durable, long-term export channel into a $62 billion economy.
You know, if you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this. Bangladesh is not a one-email market. The approach of just firing off an email and hoping for a sale is absolutely guaranteed to fail. Real, lasting success comes from preparation, from proving you're reliable, and from building actual trust. This is a market that rewards relationships, period.
And so, that leaves us with one last question. That $62 billion market, it's there, and it's waiting. The playbook for how to succeed exists. The on-the-ground support is available. So the only real question left is, are you ready to build the right relationship?